And with that as a backdrop, we move into a session that reflects the changing leadership landscape of Indian hospitality. Tech, trends, and transformation, the next gen vision for Indian hospitality brings together a new generation of industry leaders who are redefining growth through innovation, technology adoption, brand differentiation, and fresh entrepreneurial thinking. With a round of applause, let's welcome our distinguished speakers onto the stage. A big thank you, Ms. Amruta Nair, Mr. Arun Balji, Ms. Shruti Shabulal, Mr. Sohail, and Mr. Anantapur Kumar for taking this session forward.
Should I jump in the middle? Or I think it's on. Come.
Over to you, Mr. Anand.
Anand, I was trying to sit as far away from you.
So we're going to be exploring how technology is going to be shaping the future of hospitality with the next generation of hospitality sitting here. And I think why don't we start with you, Shruti? Since you're going to be, you're developing some AI agents which is going to disrupt the space. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, thanks, Anand. Thanks for throwing me in right there. So I was CEO of Thamara Leisure Experiences between 2018 and 2025. And around the time that I was handing over, I was looking back at sort of the last couple of years, and I had experimented quite a bit with technology within Thamara. I had run a lot of different experiments, tried playing with things, within operations, within finance, within marketing, all over the place. And I had enjoyed it thoroughly. And with the popularization of AI over the last couple of years, I decided to go in and co-found an organization which is now building AI agents and rethinking the org structure for hospitality. And the way we created the organization was in a way that we believed that the hotel industry could really understand us, right? I mean, hotels are run by people today. It's incredibly people-centric. So when you relook at the org structure and you're sort of saying, okay, here's a job that tomorrow could be probably more effectively, efficiently done by an AI, then that's something which I think the hospitality industry can truly understand and bring forward into their organization very quickly. So by starting on that journey, we've done a couple of things. We are now working in reservations and sales. We have a really interesting strategy analyst agent that we've created, which essentially is looking at the universe of sentiment reviews across the internet, combining that with intelligence around rates, yours and your competition in both of these cases, as well as meta spend. And by bringing all of that information together, you're now creating an intelligence layer that you never would have had before. It's like effectively having a McKinsey a McKinsey consultant working with your GM on a daily basis.
It's crazy.
Right? I mean, previously, you can't even imagine a McKinsey consultant working for a hotel once a year, once every 5 years. And now you can have that intelligence layer available to your GM on a daily basis. So I think it's amazing. Within Thamara, we've been, using all of this, and we're seeing impact immediately. I get, incredible feedback in terms of time saved, in terms of quality of output. So I think the landscape is changing. I think the ability to use agents within the vertical is enormous, but we also have to be very conscious of maintaining quality, right? And I think in hotels, that's what we, as users especially, we need to be very conscious of, that the quality of the AI needs to be very, very strong, particularly before we put it in front of guests.
And I suppose you also need the GMs to be able to then effectively use the analysis and implement it.
Yeah. And I think that's the incredible thing about AI, right? It's not like learning how to use a new CRM or a PMS. It's not like, it's so much easier in a way for them to use AI. I mean, most of our GMs are anyways already on ChatGPT just for fun, So the learning curve with AI is so much faster, and your ability to apply it within the entire organogram is just, it's incredible.
Sohail, what about you? If someone like Shruti is developing such an agent, now since you're a part of the Marriott Group, would it be easy for you to implement something like this? And if you can tell us that, how is it helping you reshape the future for fun?
So that's a great question. When internet started, it was always perceived to be a leveling platform for everyone. Eventually, the disparity started. People who could afford it and do more did better. And then people who didn't have control on it suffered and withered away. So you saw the birth of Google, Apple, all the technology companies that really took over. I think AI today stands at that platform. It's a big leveling platform, right? Every person, individual, large multinational organization, they've all been brought to one platform. So it's now about who adopts it, who develops it, and who implements it the quickest. They're going to be the story for the next 20 years. If you don't do it, however big the organization, you're definitely heading to be the next Nokia.
So why don't you tell us how you're doing it at Fern and where do you see it being implemented?
So the way I've always looked at technology is try everything, see what works for you. If it doesn't work, you've got to pivot quickly, get rid of it, start again. And that's the approach we've used for all technology. We went onto a cloud system back in 2017 when cloud had just launched as a PMS. Today, that's a decision that has held us brilliantly. We've got no legacy systems, all our technologies on cloud, giving us adaptability to implement things quickly. That's the same approach we're doing for AI. We've got Claude accounts. We've got a couple of guys, and I've given them full ability, tinker, do what you want, create any app you want. The ability to create an app on technologies like Emergent, Claude, it's phenomenal. I myself have created an app for our licensing tracking. It takes literally what you would spend months creating and implementing is done in hours, and it's brilliant.
So is it only going to help drive efficiency also, or also help build community? Because it's very relevant for the luxury space which you are building in. Amruta, so can you tell us a little bit?
So I think in the leisure space that we are in, I think that the technology has to be there, but it can't be, a performance. It has to be seamless. It has to be invisible. So the way we see it is using the data and the insights in order to be able to perform better and more efficiently. Perhaps, eliminating the admin part of it and being able to use the human time together more efficiently. I think that's essentially where we see it playing out. I don't, at least in the spaces we are in, I don't see us replacing the welcome experience, for example, because in a leisure space, there is an expectation that you are greeted by a host. Now the role of front office might change, but there is a person who sort of takes you through the space. And so I think we're a little bit away from seeing that replacement in the leisure space.
And tell us also about how you started building your brand out from scratch. You come from such an illustrious hospitality family, and how has that journey been?
So I think the benefit I had was to be able to start, from ground up, and I chose to do something completely different. So I'm currently, we started off, looking at remote locations, small format, and the idea really was to create destinations. So it's different completely in the sense that the people are coming to you as the destination and then being able to explore the location thanks to being able to have a branded product in a location that wouldn't necessarily have one. We started with mountain resorts in Himachal, Uttarakhand. We've sort of pivoted into the safari space, and I think that's where we see our future growth. But I think in the case of Araya, having a clean platform to build off helped, so you can relook at, how you want to even base your systems. A simple model in terms of even how we work at the corporate level. We don't necessarily have departmental silos. So you'll have accountability for a function, but everyone participates. So whether it's operations, revenue, sales, marketing, everyone's on the same table. And I think and we do that at a corporate level, but we also see it at an operational level because we're so small. I have a 6-room property up in Rishikesh, so everyone does everything. And I think that multifunctionality and the training that goes behind it also helps because they're able to then even attract talent and retain them because they can do multiple things and see growth, in the future in terms of where they want to specialize. So it's given me a chance to start afresh and look at things differently and question everything.
Arjun, it's been a couple of years since you've been back, I think,
Yeah.
at the helm again, and launched. Congratulations on the beautiful launch of your property in Bombay. Tell us about the brand and your experience with the chatbot.
We've been, listen, Iconica was, it was a deliberately created brand, and we were fortunate that we had this structure, right? So it wasn't, like a playbook that said, let's build a brand that was X, Y, Z, and go and put it in this building. It just came about organically. And again, too much to what Amrita was saying, that because there was this clean slate, right, you could question how a customer uses your hotel, right? And then we decided, let's design for one particular person in mind. Okay? Everyone's welcome, but we have one persona in mind who we decide to design this hotel for. Okay? And it really helped. And of course, listen, there was paucity of time and paucity of funds, which then make you speed decisions up and get the hotel done in the time that we did, right? But Iconica to us was, back to questioning things about a 35 to 55-year-old customer. When he walks into a hotel, does he expect a reception counter or does he expect a drink? Okay, if he's staying with you for 1.4 to 1.8 nights next to Bombay Airport, do you give him enough to do within the hotel that he actually then wants to come back because he's missed out on something? If you're catering to, let's say, the air hostesses or the airline community, right? How do they use the hotel? Do they need a lovely swimming pool? Do they need a nail bar? Right? Are they going to get their hair cut or is it just a blow dry? So you have to go down into that micro detail of who that customer you want to attract in your hotel and design accordingly. And that was a luxury I think I had with Iconica, and very, very fortunate for that. Your second bit about the entire chatbot, oh my Lord. Okay, well, AI to me, I look at it as augmented intelligence rather than artificial, okay? Because let's go back to hospitality first principles, which is what, I try to make decisions based on, right? Which is, if your guest loves it and you make money out of it, you do it. Right? If one or both have to be true for you to take that decision. Okay? And with technology or with, let's say, the use of AI in the hotel, we see guests wanting to WhatsApp a hell of a lot more today than they did a few years ago, be it a pillow or be it room service or whatever that may be. And therefore, it was a necessary decision to implement this early on. Does it get it right every time? No. Are we getting there? Yes. It requires training, it requires an amazing data lake, and it requires clean data. Right? And that clean data is something that we have to train our team on. Right? A simple thing like misspelling a name can give you two customers, two stores of the same customer, and therefore you don't really know what they ordered the last time just because there's a small spelling error. It's things like this that we're now, trying to clean up and fine tune.
Shruti, what do you think is going to be most outdated in the next 5 years in hospitality? Are receptions going to exist? And where do you see other revenue streams coming from other than restaurants and rooms?
Yeah, I mean, so I think one of the things, okay, if we just remove the, I won't answer this with infrastructure. There are ways in which the infrastructure is going to change, but I think in the way that we operate hotels, there's going to be a fundamental shift. Because a lot of the intelligence which is needed today or can be implemented today is now sort of coming to be, right? So I think that one of the challenges we have in the hospitality industry, and probably unlike Fern, most hotels are running on these legacy systems where systems don't talk to each other. And so decision making becomes incredibly difficult because you have a person sitting there looking at all of these different data sets, trying to make sense of that. And I think that will change. I think that we will become far less reactive in our decision making and far more proactive, because not only will the technology allow you to look at your own data, it will be able to look at the data that exists within the ecosystem, right? Whether it's your competition, whether it's whatever's there in public domain, which allows you to make far more proactive decisions regarding revenue, regarding, the way you sell, about the kinds of customers you want to attract. All of these things, I think, will change. And so as hoteliers, we're great at execution. We're maybe not the best when it comes to proactive decision-making today, right, at the operations level. And so I think that lever is now going to get turned on. And I think our ability to do much better business, I would say, right? Even from the existing lines of business, I think all of that will transform. And as you said, right, it's whoever jumps on board the fastest, right? There are going to be a lot of hotels who are dragging on this because potentially they're working with legacy systems where the data is not talking to each other, right? So you need to really think about where you are on this journey and how fast you want to jump on it, and do it in a way which is very mindful and thoughtful to get ahead.
No, but I also think that there's a shift in the mindset. My grandfather, for example, would have wanted flawless service. I think even the guest is willing to accept a flaw in the design, in terms of the design process, for something that's new and more relevant. And I think that the fear of experimentation, is something that at least our generation doesn't necessarily have.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's, I think it's become a survival necessity rather than, an option anymore.
Sohail, what about you? Where do you see any other revenue streams which are going to spring up for hotels other than rooms and restaurants? And I'll put you on the spot and ask you that what percentage of the staff or the team members of our hotels would you think will need to be repurposed going forward?
Okay, so let me get to the first part. In terms of revenue streams, we're actually sitting on a source of revenue stream which is much more valuable than your rooms and your F&B, which we have zero monetization on at present, which is your data, right? If you look at all the IT companies, the way they've been able to capture data, monetize data, utilize it fully, it's been phenomenal. And I think as any hotel company, be it us or anybody, nobody has been able to mine that data and to truly utilize that data to make it a revenue stream. I think that is going to change, and that's going to change very quickly. Integration, using that data to create, like for leisure properties, to create adventures for them outside, create a revenue stream that's not part of your facility that you have, right? Synergizing with other industries, be it an automotive company, to be able to sell vehicles or anything. I mean, the data potential is phenomenal. That is the revenue stream that I think hotel companies are going to jump on to, if not in the near future, definitely in the short term. Yeah.
And what about
In
the second
terms,
question?
yeah, the second question in terms of the team that is, so the way I see AI, okay, and I know this may be controversial, but the way I see AI is it is built to replace a human job, right? Any AI you think of, the purpose of that AI creation is to replace that human job. So as humans, we've definitely got to pivot and to find new things to do. One thing the AI can't do currently is deal with human chaos, okay? And that literally is, I'm not saying that we need to create more chaos in the system, but we need to be able to figure out how we utilize this AI to clean the chaos. So that will be the biggest job for humans in the future, cleaning the chaos of what we've created.
To add to what Sohail was saying, I think going forward, you'll have two organizational charts, right? One a human-led and one an
AI-led.
AI agent-led per se. I think the balance is going to be that, which human being needs which agent to augment and help them improve their functionality, their efficiency, the fact that there has to be ubiquitous service and technology behind. At the end of the day, listen, Sohail, I love the idea that we'll be dominated by robots at some point. But hey, we are in the human experiences business. And I'm of the firm opinion that human experiences over a period of time, right, will be the next, I guess, revenue drivers for all of our businesses, right? And that is taking people outside to, as you said, kayaking or, whatever that may be, a cooking lesson or whatever that may be, right? But mining that data, and you're spot on that I think all of us have millions of customers walking through our doors every year, and we don't know them.
Correct.
And we still give generic stuff. I mean, if somebody tells my father that, listen, why don't you go and do mountain climbing tomorrow because that's what's near. No, it's just the stupidest thing to offer him, right? So hyper-personalized experiences based on data is what I think is going to be the differentiator for us going
But
forward.
I think it's also how you can personalize at scale.
Absolutely.
That's going to make it interesting, right? So in our case, for example, we could use an AI bot to do reservations, answer FAQs. But eventually, when you need curation, so if someone's coming to me in Palampur, and you need to offer experiences at various grades.
Right.
So depending on interest level and ability, so you grade, you curate an experience based on that. If you're coming to Gir, for example, to figure out which safari, how you need to be dressed, you need, a real human being to be able to give you that real-time data and actually, tell you what suits you better. So I think that it has to be a combination of the two.
So what I would say is that AI would be great at knowing the customer, right? Exactly as you said. Being able to take that and combine it with the universe of everything that the AI knows that you're capable of as an operator and recommend, here are the 5 things that you should be doing to make sure this guest is satisfied and you're making the most money out of it, right? So I think that, of course, the execution is finally done by people, but the AI can think beyond what a team of us
And perhaps
can.
learn over time.
Exactly.
So
it
we're not
can-
there yet.
Yeah, but it can tell you, do these 5 things, right? Which today, I mean, how many of us are able to give that personalized experience? It's very, very difficult. But here's a way in which you're able to take all of that information and kind of dream up all of the possibilities within the limitations of your operations and say, do this, do this, do this, and you're going to win. I think that's the difference between the before and the after.
Yeah, so coming back to your exact example of Gir, when someone asks you, say, what clothing, the AI can actually push and help you sell clothes to them. We don't do that today,
Sure.
right? So that's another revenue stream that you can do. I guarantee you 90% of the guests would ask, what else can I do other than a safari and Gir, right? So that's where then an AI can tell you, these are
Somnath's
the
an
other
hour away.
adventures that you
Yeah.
can sell to them and you can monetize it. So there's a lot of potential revenue through the data that we are just not capturing today.
What about the product? Do you think that the kitchens are going to fundamentally change? I'm talking about the near future, not like 15 years, 20 years hence, but in the next 3 to 5 years. I'm sure that hyper-personalization will lead to better experiences even in the mid-market and upper upscale, not only in the luxury market. But what do you think? How do you think the product is going to change?
So I think the product will be driven by what the customers really demand at the end of the day, right? If a person still keeps insisting on a reception counter, it's not going to go away. But the ability of a company to hear what the customer is saying and react will improve. So our products will have to keep evolving through time. It's going to be very interesting times. We're going to see a lot of changes in the next few years. It's just a question of how close we are with our ears to the ground and hearing what the customers are saying, what they really want, and making those changes in the products. We may see reception counters going away. We may see smaller kitchens, which are this, or we may just see robotic kitchens, which are generating the food that the guests are asking for.
I think that from a design perspective, definitely it's no longer rooms first. And the whole idea of common spaces being community spaces. We're already seeing part of that. I mean, we're seeing requests, for example, in our meeting rooms, if we're having board offsites, they no longer want to be seated at a table. They're asking for bean bags. That space could, eventually go from a meeting setting to a sound healing session as a way of closing out a meeting. So that functionality has to be, has to be fairly flexible, and that space has to allow you to do that, because that's why they're doing a meeting in a leisure destination in the first place, to be able to, just use the space differently.
Shruti, if you had to recommend like one of your agents which would be most useful to the audience to use, which one would that be and why? Which one would generate the maximum value?
So I think the one that most people are sort of jumping onto is voice AI, right? So reservations, concierge, these are things which I think are the most, sort of people are seeing sort of the obvious use cases there. And so, I mean, that certainly, we do that, we provide that. I would say like that's a very good entry point. But there's a lot of things that we're doing which are not as necessarily disruptive, right? And I think that that's important because we deal with people finally, right? We are people who serve people. So I think to be very mindful of, finally there is a guest on the other side, and we need to make sure that they're not, they're not having a negative experience while we're doing these sort of technological disruptions and transformations in our organizations. I think that's really important. So we have a trainer platform, which I think is really interesting. So essentially what it does is it's an AI that works with our employees. And the AI behaves as a guest. And the employee in my team is having a training session within a scenario that is being presented. So as an example, imagine that the AI pretends to be a guest who was given the wrong room and is extremely upset with the front office, and is coming, is perturbed, is angry, is aggressive, and you can set all of these parameters. Now, as a front office executive who is maybe 3 months on the floor, how am I to deal with this, right? I can't give them a free room because my SOPs don't say that I can give them a free room, but maybe there's another way in which I can sort of empathize with them, right? And so the AI is able to work with you. And remember, most of our team members, English is never the first language for them. So they've really not had much practice in having these difficult conversations with anyone. And certainly none of our L&D teams have the time or the energy to have these conversations. So imagine being
It's role-playing.
Yeah, it's role-playing. So you imagine having that ability to make sure that maybe our front office comes down from 10 to 2, right? And honestly, there's a good chance that that will happen in in a relatively near future. But you want those two people to be excellent.
Absolutely.
Right? And so this role play situation allows them to have no risk in having those training sessions with the AI. The brand is able to define what the SOPs are, what can they do, what can they not say, and the team member is able to develop their skills in that way. So our company is called Anticipatory, or Anticipatory. And the idea is that how can you're allowing for everybody who's using it to really be able to anticipate what's going to happen, what is a scenario that's going to happen, how do you prepare for it best, and also how do you prepare for dealing with the needs of our guests in these very evolving times, fast evolving times.
We are going one step back. What we've just implemented, and it's still beta mode at Iconica, is we're dealing with a really young workforce. And the young workforce everyone has smartphones, and everyone has really short attention spans, right? Everybody wants to watch Reels and TikTok and so on and so forth. So using platforms like yours, we've actually created 30-second Reels, but then gamified the whole thing, which I think our team actually really enjoys, because if you hit 15 right videos a day, then you'll get a coupon to go and get a free coffee or something, or an Amazon voucher. So it's nice to see the entire team now engaged on the platform, actually bettering themselves from an SOP perspective. And you think that you leave them as better humans. Far more engaged. And listen, gone are those days of those old train the trainer, those old programs, right? Where you're sitting in a conference room for hours on end learning how to pour a cup of tea or making a bed. I mean, it's silly. And people don't have that attention span, and they're always on their phone. So you might as well push that in the content and the language in which they understand to get your job done.
Where do you see Royal Orchid in 2030? And what is one thing you'd like to change about what your father's done there? Or
Is he in the room? Good question. Right? Well, listen, we're very, very fortunate that it's at 120 plus hotels. Our stated objective is 345 across 5 brands. And that is something that we're actively working on. But I think up to now, up to about last year, we had about 100 odd hotels across varied, undefined categories and brands. And we spent the last year really defining who we are and what each brand means and what it means for what sort of a customer. And now with that clear brand definition, I think the world's our oyster, right? And we're looking forward to the future.
what about you, Amruta? So like what is one thing that you've inherited from your legacy, which is a Leela legacy, which is obviously in some ways brought luxury hospitality to many parts of this country? And what is one thing which you would not want to do?
Yes, I think the idea of being, bringing the warmth of Indian hospitality to the forefront, but in a very modern way. I think that was what my grandfather envisioned. He just had a different take on it. I think that should stay, the Indian service and the warmth. What I think will change dramatically is maybe in the form that we deliver it. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be flawless. I think because we want to be part of the community, part of the location, far more authentic in terms of, so maybe less scripted. So we'll do the training, but your accent can stay the same. You don't need to switch it. It can still be relevant to that destination. So I think the switch is going to be more where the hotel isn't necessarily an island on its own, but becomes part of a bigger ecosystem. And then, going back to what Sohail said, right? You do collaborations with local brands, with the community. So that spread is a lot bigger. And I think, in a way, by doing this, we can actually even retain our teams because they have a bigger sense of purpose. Because I think that's something that what they're looking for. Having impact. And I think that idea of having impact isn't not just for our younger workforce, but even our guests. So I think that's where I see the Araya play working out from a destination.
And even the community at large, the local community?
Absolutely, yes.
Would you like to give some closing comments since we are almost out of time?
No, I'm good. I think it's exciting times ahead. Yeah, a lot of changes on board, a lot of changes coming in. The one thing I tell all our team members is, that phrase of, this is how it used to be, that's why I'm doing the same, that needs to go. Yeah. Question everything. If it truly makes sense today, that's when you need to do it. But you can't just go with legacy, aisa hota tha, aisa hoga. That can't work.
Shruti, why don't you give your closing comments as well, please?
I mean, I was going to say, the most frustrating thing that people have ever said to me is the line, "This is how we do it here." And it drives me crazy. And I think most of my career has been defined on questioning, the way that things have been done and why can't we do it and, do it better. And so I think that I'm very bullish on AI. I think we need to be careful, to be honest. I think, we have to be very conscious of how we're doing these implementations and how we're thinking about it and how, we had a conversation just before this saying that we have a bet going on that in 15 years, Sohail believes that we will be pets of robots in 15 years. I don't quite believe that. I think possibly it will take longer. But, I think we have to be really careful. But I also believe that we must start because the potential is enormous of what we can do with this technology. And, AI first, I think, is the way to go because legacy it's not going to transform. Enterprise is not going to transform quickly. So I would say, be very careful about where you're putting your investments and look at AI-first solutions that will really create value.
So Shruti, just to be clear here, the bet is the time frame or it's the final outcome of being the pet?
Definitely time frame.
Okay.
Pet as well. I don't think we're going to be pets.
50 years
It's a dog's
Maybe
life. It's going to be a human's life soon. Yeah.
Wally.
Sohail, why don't we end with your prediction? Because
Yeah.
we've told them about the bet, but they don't know about the
I
backstory.
think they got a summary of it.
The backstory, why don't you
The
give
backstory, yeah, I definitely think so. Today it's a dog's life. Tomorrow we're going to be the dogs in the picture, where we're taken care of by the robots and the technology.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.